right, guys, how we doing? Happy Monday. So the 22nd of July here. We're looking at crypto here. So trying to mix things up a little bit today. So we've been over the majors so many times here. I thought what we'd do here is I'd let you guys throw out all of your selections, what you're looking for, and then I'd maybe work through things we hadn't seen, pulling from your list, charts we hadn't looked at recently, or where there might be perhaps a trade setting up or something that might be worthwhile, some educational context here that we could pull out of this. Now, this is, I'm going to run you through this here, but I think ultimately we're going to get to the bottom line being there is no trade here just yet. But there's a couple of things to consider here, and I should mention this is Binance Coin to the dollar tether on Binance, obviously, right? So this is an 8-hour chart here, so let me pop it up so we get the full look at it. So we can certainly count a completed impulse off the low here. So this has completed something. So the first question you're asking yourself is, well, is this one? I've got a very clear three wave here. Is this three? So at first glance you might look at it and go, oh, they don't look like they're related. But in actual fact, if you measure it, right, which of course I'm assuming you guys have all done, it is far enough. I mean, here's 100 of the one. Here's the 1618. So we're kind of in between here, essentially splitting the difference between the 1272 and the 1618. So yeah, technically it qualifies here, but I am more inclined to treat these separately. So if I'm trading it, because I'm less concerned. So this is certainly, we could end up with this being, this could be the 3, the 4, and we'll get the 5 there. So you have the symmetry is not ideal, right? They don't look like they're connected. If this is ultimately going to be as the 1, 2, my expectation would be that this at that, let's go to a daily. This would be much bigger, right? Just for this symmetry to fit. If this is going to be, I'm going to push all of this up here. If this is going to be a big 3, 4, and this is going to be happening at this kind of scale, I'd be looking for something much bigger here. Just eyeballing the symmetry we'd be looking for. If this is the 1, 2, I'm looking for a very big 3 here. All right, so as I lay this out here, again, just trying to relate the two, you can certainly put some median lines on this. I'll have to dig in there, see if I'm right on the corner. So the median line does seem to be in play here. We have this nicely framing the market. I'm much more inclined to want to do this. If this is 1, 2 at the largest degree, I want to do this. I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, thinking that this is likely how we're going to get up here to these kind of levels. Now that's putting it up here at $80, which is essentially, our high here was 40. So we've gone from the low down here, well, it's December of 18, from approximately $4, we went up to $40. So just a monster run, right? The percentage returns just massive, right? So great play for anyone who is long here, or Binance, right? They're just killing it. So do you connect them? Well, I don't think you need to worry about it just yet, because we've got a completed impulse here. So so certainly I understand the thinking. Well, if this is 1, 2, 3, I'm looking for the 4, so that the depth of the retracement here might influence your thinking. So let me pull some of this off here, and we'll just. Right, so again, this is the kind of thing that I would have this on. If you keep a daily somewhere, I'd keep this on so you don't lose track of it. I'm going to take it off here just for as we do this video here to kind of, let's get this out of here too. Give us more, just so we can see the chart a little bit better. So I'm going to go down, let's go down to a 2-hour here. The reason I don't think you need to relate the two, because any trade that you're in right now here is really going to be a function of the low here. So this is our December low. Hang on one second. Sorry, Bloomberg just turned on behind me. Okay, so from this low here, right, the count is fairly easy to get. Well, it's not the easiest count ever. I guess I got to go to a 3-hour here to squeeze it up. so we can see a little bit more of it here. But the subdivision is all there, and a good exercise is for members here. Work through this. All right, see if you can get it to complete here. There are a few little tricky spots here, but it plays. If we can get the 1, 2, so at this degree, we can definitely, come here. Definitely get the 1 here, the 2, a shallow 2. That's a huge 3 on this at this degree, but we can complete up here. And this symmetry looks much better to me. All right, yeah, sure, the 1, 2 is small, but big rip in the 3, 4. This is a completed impulse. I think we can. In working through the subdivision, it's all there. I've got nice impulse in my third. I can get the 1, 2, and then so yeah, we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We get all the way up here, and we can finish it. So the big 3, 4. Here's the ABC into the 4. You'll note you can't see them. I'm just wicking off the prior pivots here. The one high and then the B high is potentially some structure we'd run into. And interestingly, look how the 3, 4 kind of stays right in that range. And then as we come down here, so your question is, are we done here? Well, so if we're isolating this impulse here from the swing low to the swing high, we're in between. So 38 to the 50, we do come right to this this area of prior congestion here where we stalled before the last kick. So we have a base here. This is a pretty good buy volume that drove us out of here. We did get this double bottom here, so you can see here no divergence here on the Elliott oscillator, but you had the double bottom in the RSI, so you had the whole thing teed up to go there. Now I'm not currently in this, so for me, what I'm looking for, I want to either see a more defined move out of here. I want more complexity here. So if this is going to, if this is going to come down and correct. If it's going to play as a 2, I'm looking for something along those lines there. Because then I feel much better about where I am, the symmetry, the length of time of the correction. So this is essentially a little over a 6 month, when we peak here. Well, it's a 6.5 month impulse off the low. So this is a little skinny to do this in about 30 days here. That's a 1 month correction over a 6 month impulse off of the pivot down here. Well, this is what is that? December of, well, right when everything bottomed here. So December of 18. So to get a handle on this, you got to go down to a smaller time frame. I just am looking for more here. Now it's you can make a case that we're done here. So as a potential 2. It would be shallow, but we know approximately 15% of wave 2s only do the 38. Now, we did break the 38, and you can understand why we found some support here. So we got to dig into that subdivision here to see if it makes sense to call this complete down here. Let's get this off of here. So here's the last impulse, 3, 4. We don't overlap the 1. Now, this gets a little... You'd likely have to trade this as 1, 2, or shit. You'd have to. You could do A, B. Oh, fuck. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's iffy in here, right? So look at the depth of this as a 4, almost overlapping the 2. There's an alternate here that you could do it this way. You could do it 3, 4 here. I'd say you'd have to. This would be part of your third. This would be the 4, 5 of the 3. I don't know that it matters as much right now as we look at where we are. The ABC is pretty solid, but even the A had a look. It's interesting. Note the depth here. So this would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do the same thing here. So we just almost invalidate these counts with these spike wicks. But I think as relates to any current opportunity here, we got to look at, well, does this look like it's finished? Well, the 5 coming down, the motive wave come. Oh shit! Do we have an impulse there? Did we hold it? No, it overlaps just slightly here. So we get a motive wave coming down. So we get a leading diagonal on the way down. Looks like we are expanding here. So we get the 2 to the 4, and looks like we've got. Well, you get the idea here. I can't quite squeeze it in there. It's so skinny. Right, so we come up shy here on the 5th, but the subdivision supports it. So I can get A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. Or so all there. So I can get that A wave pretty solidly. Here's the 3 into the B. Now that's a little skinny for a B wave. So we looked at draw this up. So in the same breath as we're thinking, oh, it's a little shallow for a 2-wave. Well, there's a little shallow in terms of the retracement for the B. Again, it doesn't invalidate, but then I've got to go A, B, C into a 1. There's the 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can actually finish down here, coming down here as an A, a B, and a C. It gets me there. So just checking for anything that's technical here. So here's this. Now if we use the secondary pivot here, all right, here's our 50. So you can see, right, here's the straight algo play, right? No question, they're in here, right? So you can just see it whether you use this one or that one. Eventually they get the target, big rip, and now that it goes again. But my guess is that this is relative to a different set of swings. So just kind of eyeballing that. Well, it looks like it's here. Okay, so we come back here. Do you see that? Let's open this up a little bit more. Right, so rather than thinking it's related to the prior pivot, I think all you've got is just the next 50 that they take from the dominant. So here we get in between the 50 and the 618, but look at, there's the target to the tick, and then the little reaction, and then we go down again. So likely that's just the algo just carrying on as it goes down. So let's just out of curiosity here. Yeah, it looks like they might have done that right there. This could be here. It's either one of these. Hard to know what they use, but right here. So do you see we'd have alternating pivots here? Right, you're always kind of, what did they do last? So we get that ABC pattern that they like. Now we're a little shy here on the retrace here, but then target to the tick. Hard to know what they used. Did they use this here? That'd be too shallow. If they use this, then you're wondering, did they use that? There's 50 to the tick, a little slop on the target, but a couple of wicks to get through to guarantee fill, and then we come out of there. So you can just always want to, what they use, can you identify, can you spot it based on the reaction? That looks to me like that's what they used last here. So you see all they're doing, right? They're just grabbing the next dominant, right? Then they're looking, where's the 50, where's the target? So here's the first time we break that trend. So coming out of here, now we've broken the resistance, these smaller levels of resistance. So even if I use the B wave here down to the low, all right, so we've broken through the 65. So yes, of course, we got to go back one because they'll do the same thing. They'll just keep going. Now here we're through that one, through this. Now we come to this one, which we know was used, right? Remember this was used here. We had that perfect. All right, so we know an algorithm used this. So we look here and we go, oh, well, so here's golden zone to the 50. Well, tick, we got third target on that one. So this was definitely used. Let's get this out of here. Let's get you out of here. Okay, so now, as in terms of checking on the way back, I definitely want to use that one. So here, if I get right on it, we've just tagged the golden zone. Now, if they can get through that, then at last one, we got to check this one. All right, so right now it looks like this is what's in play. So here, there's defense. You can see the first little selling likely comes in at the 50. They get through. Then here's the reaction at the golden zone. Now, coming off the low, this does get a little tricky. I have to go all the way down to the 15 to try and get this to clarify. Not easy in here, but so you're making do because there's no, could be counted multiple different ways. So there's no easy answer here. I think. Let me pull this off here just to clear it up so we won't have so many lines. So you look at this as an Elliott trader, you're trying to get a handle on the retracements to help you identify the wave structure, and it's clearly it's open to interpretation. You could count this at least 3 different ways. I know because I just went through them all. So you look at it and you go, well, if I can't be that clear about it, do I want to trade it? Well, before I concur with that, it is worth noting it's very technical. So even though the Elliott count is a little bit open to interpretation, if we just look at the major swings, it's very technical. We know the algo. I mean, I just showed you algos right in here. So here's swing low to swing high, although it's done repeatedly. Well, I'll just show you the majors rather than take you through all of them here. You guys can go check them. So here's 50 to the tick. There's your target, although it looks like they may have stayed with that and got second target. But from that 50, that target has already been realized. But interestingly, then the same thing happens again. So here we're looking at the deepest retracements, trying to identify, is this potentially a second? And look what we've done here. So this is likely, that's a 3 cent front run. on the 50 right here, we've got all this structure. You've got all of this hesitation. You've got the big fat, here's your market profile. Here's your point of control sitting right here. So they come back down, test that just to the edge of it. Is that in play? That could have been in play as well. Here, we've got a little structure here. So you get this nice little window down here where there's likely just simple stuff, right? Dominant, right till we come to 3 ticks from the 50. You've got structure here. You've got plenty of market acceptance. Your point of control is close by. And then, of course, right, boom, to the tick. All right, so they're always in here. We're just seeing, well, can we get an Elliott count to fit around what they're doing to see if we can identify what's likely to happen next? Well, this time, if you're looking at this with your Elliott hat on, having gone through all of the alternatives, the 2 retracements seem to be the tells here. So this is the one, right? The 2 that gave you the algo plays. Those seem to be the tells. It seems to be completing here. So I can get an impulse here. I don't have much subdivision there, but it's the deepest retracement we get, and it goes exactly to a 50. So I think you have to go 1, 2, and then yet again 1, 2. So barring until this, well, this low could be broken here. So if we're going to do something like this and we break that, then this count gets invalidated. Now you're revisiting maybe the ones over here because you actually could get it to work, right? So that's part of the problem here. But the symmetry here looks much better. So I can work at an impulse here, right? So the extension's in the 1, the 4 doesn't overlap it, not much in the 5, right? I know. Well, I'm on a 15 minute, so you'd have to go down to the 2 or 3 minute, but it's there, right? 3, 4, just barely. You can dig out an impulse in that 5. 3 is a little bit of a, is it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably A, B, C for the 4. There's your little baby 5. So you can get an impulse off of this low. So from the 1, 2, I can get an impulse, but it doesn't look like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We couldn't because, well, if we've got an impulse here and we come down, we overlap the 1, then that eliminates we wouldn't, if we're thinking diagonal, we don't want an impulse here. We want this as an ABC, which I suppose you could probably count it that way. You could probably go A, B, call that a C, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, it's open to interpretation. So the Elliott is not really helping you here because it's too subjective at the moment. Could be this, could be that. So you want to put a primary on it and wait to see if it confirms or invalidates. So off of this low, if that's a 1 and that's a 2, well, again, right, we've seen this tendency for these very deep retracements where we're almost invalidating a count. But we're not quite there yet. So this potentially now, you've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So very bullish if it resolves up. If not, right, and you can see again we're very deep here. We're well past the 786, right? It's almost. I think you're past the 887 here as well. Put the 887 on there. Well, 887 gets it. So there's your last stand for support here, and you can see likely all of this structure came into play, right, just as it did here. So we're back down testing that prior resistance. Is that going to hold as the support? Well, could you trade this? Yeah, sure, right. So we know. Let's go back one. Right, that these alternating pivots. I guess you have to go to this one. These alternating pivots are generating very nice little short-term little singles here. So that a nice little trade here. So are we done? Are we done there, or are we just reloading? So hard to call that. So if I'm looking at this and if I'm just dying to put on a trade, I'm going to be on the long side here. So there's definitely the potential there just for a straight algo play. Do I love it enough to trade it? No, to tell you the truth, I don't. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a hurry up and wait. There's just too much variance here in terms of how this could resolve. So it just takes one more push down, and this count is going to blow up. So then you're back to saying, is this the one? Right now you're back to kind of trying to figure out what fits best. So my suggestion is let this market reveal a bit more here before leaning into any of these. Other than It's just buying off of the structure and off of an algo play. So yeah, you could be a buyer here. Right? Do you have any help from the oscillators? You could be playing off of the RSI being oversold, perhaps, and just working off of the structure. I sure wouldn't give that a lot of room. You don't really have much help from any market geometry here. You could do something along these lines here. So yeah, they're putting it on sale, relatively speaking. You could make that point. So we've come down here back to the 50 from the swing low after having just done. Right, let me just to re-emphasize. Right, having just used this pivot, swing low, swing high 50. Here's our algo to the tick. Do they just go to the next one? Because if we come up here, right, it's already broke the 65. So likely that's not in play. If we come all the way back here, thinking, oh, is this a? Could the whole thing be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, then you kind of you're mixing motives here. So you'd have well, if you tried to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, you've got to turn it into a diagonal. And you really don't have it because you've got an impulse here, you've got an impulse here, then you've got the overlap. So it's more likely per this moment in time that it's yet another 1, 2 if this holds. So thinking, okay, what else? What else could I do to help me kind of get some confidence in this trade? Well, so if I were trading this, which it's not good enough for me, I'd be right here, right? Something. I wouldn't give it much more than that. Even really, I think you could be fairly tight here. So maybe just by the point of control is often a magnet for the market here. So I don't love the trade here. It's just a crapshoot. You have no real advantage here other than we do have a series of higher highs and higher lows. So you have the potential for this to be a new trend getting started here, but I just don't like the Elliott setup. Yeah, I see the algos are in here and I can identify what they did last, but I would feel better about this if this was carrying on. So if we had done this, right, we tagged that, and now we're going to go to this target. All right, so now we'd use this as the new high, and then I'd be looking for a secondary pivot or this, but we don't get it. So ideally, this was the one that would have been better, right? So if we had gone in that alternating pattern and come here and held the golden zone, yeah, I like it a lot better for that play right there. But we don't, right? So we know, of course, always there's algos on the other side. So if we just look at where they are relative from the pivot here, so swing high to swing low, well, they've broken. So we know that that's right. We looked at that earlier. So they're using higher pivots. So some of that might lead you into thinking, okay, maybe I can be a buyer here. But down to the smaller degree, there's going to be an algo waiting here. So if I come from here, let me clear this up. Get this off of here. There's going to be resistance from just latest swing high to swing low, right? But they're working on every time frame. So as this comes up here, it's going to run into that resistance. So you might hit it here, get the median line. It might set you up for the move lower. That's the target for that algo, right? Whatever's going to be there selling, we'll be looking for this, potentially that. This looks more interesting to me if I'm down here, because then I've got to reshape the count, and then I'm back to working off of, can I get in alignment with what the algos did, right? Dominant to dominant. I like it a whole lot better down here. That I would look at. Now you're probably back retrofit, working back through this count. I'll have to see, but right now, as long as that holds, I just think you got to wait for more data to see how far are we going to break this pivot. Are we going to get another higher high? So we'd have a series of, you see what's happening repetitively every low with every dominant higher. So a series of higher lows, higher highs, right? So the channel just demonstrating that. So higher, 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 all the way. So this is the first deep retracement we've had. So let's see, are we going to come out of here? You got a little A, B, C in there, but it doesn't look, that could very well just be in the process of putting in the A wave here. We've already overlapped. So it's too hard to call it. No advantage here, no conviction in the trade. So why pursue anything here? I'll wait personally, right? So this has been a great coin, but I'll wait until I get more clarity as to what I've got here. If this is going to come down here and I'm going to get this last little kick, well, then I've got potentially an A wave going in. Right, you see as we start to fall here. Does it look like an ABC? Well, it doesn't look. I'm down in the 15 minutes. It doesn't look like it's finished. So this area looks the more interesting to me. And then we'd be just working from dominant to dominant, coming to the 50, where we know there's likely to be software participation here. So if something like this, then I'm more interested. Then I'm working this trade here. All right, if I get down here if I get a golden corner, or just in this case, just a straight corner, then that looks more promising to me. That's what I would do there, guys. All right, I think that's it's tempting, right? I get you. It's tempting to want to buy that. But I don't like the risk profile, and the upside is not substantial enough here yet based on not really being confident in where the count is. So I'd be on hold here until I get somewhere down here. That looks more interesting to me. All right, guys, I went long-winded there. Okay, I'll be back in a bit.